Every day that you save your money in the bank, you are slowly becoming poorer each and every day, and most of us never see it happen. Now, this doesn't mean you shouldn't save any money. This just means you have to understand how to save your money strategically, because wealthy people do not want to save all their money.
Hey everyone, welcome back to On Purpose, the number one health podcast in the world. Thanks to each and every single one of you that come back every week to listen, learn, and grow. Now, the fun that I've been having with this show recently is what we've done since the beginning is we've talked about mental health and well-being much more broadly than just the mind. Often we think that mental health and living a positive life and living a healthy life is all about just the mind. For a long time, we thought it was just the body. Then we kind of upgraded, but what we haven't realized is that every part of our life informs our well-being. How we make money, how we spend money, how we use money, and even deeper than that, how we think about money impacts our well-being. We have a relationship with every form of energy in this world, and money or our financial well-being is an integral part of it. And so today I'm really honored and really grateful because I reached out to someone who I believe is truly talking about this in a way that I can align with, someone that I feel has incredible values around his own mission. I'm talking about the one and only Jaspreet Singh, who's a serial entrepreneur and licensed attorney. Although he didn't receive any formal financial education, he's on a mission to make financial education fun and accessible, and he's winning at it. Jaspreet is the chief executive money nerd at the Minority Mindset Companies and the host of the Minority Mindset YouTube channel, which I highly recommend you go and subscribe to while you're listening or watching this. Welcome to the show, Jaspreet Singh. Jaspreet, thank you for doing this.
Wow, Jay, what an introduction, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate being here, and thank you for the opportunity.
No, I'm so grateful I get to have this conversation with you. I was just saying to you offline that one of the things I really appreciate about the way you talk about wealth when I was watching your channel and hearing your work was that I realized that money wasn't an obsession, or it didn't sound like the goal, but you'd created these really healthy habits around how all of us, no matter what our financial situation is, can create really a deep, meaningful connection to our wealth and finances. Would you say that's fair? How does that sound? You can totally disagree with me too.
100%. I mean, the things that I grew up learning just didn't make sense because growing up, my parents are immigrants from a state in India called Punjab. And I saw my parents work their butt off. My parents came to this country with very little. And growing up, if my dad had a Saturday and a Sunday off, it was considered a long weekend. So he was working long hours every day, on weekends, all the time. And at the same time, they would say, you need to study hard so you can get a good job and become successful. And at the same time, they would also say, don't worry about money, don't stress about money, don't talk about money because money's bad, money's taboo, money's evil. And something didn't make sense because even as a kid, I had this entrepreneurial bug where I was like, I want to do something different. I started by mowing my neighbor's lawns, and my parents were like, don't do that. Don't worry about trying to get money by doing that. Just study hard to become a doctor. And I was like, well, something's not making sense because on one hand, you're working your butt off to get paid. And on the other hand, you're talking about how money is bad, how you shouldn't talk about money. As I went through this like emotional and kind of a tough financial education journey, I realized that the reason why so many people create this smokescreen taboo culture around money is because we're insecure about our money. And the reason why is because we don't understand how money plays a part in our lives. Money is just one part of our lives. You're right. Money is not going to make you happier. Money is not going to make you a better person. Money is not going to make you a good person. However, if you don't have money and if you don't understand money, well, that lack of money can impact your mental health. It can make you stressed, anxious, depressed. It is one of the leading causes of divorce. If you don't have money, you can start eating bad. You can't afford healthier food. You can't have the right gym membership. You don't have time to take care of your family. If you don't have money, you can't buy your spouse that nice vacation that they keep asking about. You can't take care of your kids the way that you might have wanted to. You can't give your kids the vacations. You can't give your kids the opportunities that maybe you want. Maybe you can't even buy the healthcare that you want because the reality, and this is, unfortunate or fortunate, the reality of the way the system is money talks. And if you don't understand money, then you're going to be at the mercy of people who have money. And this is where I had to understand how money plays a part in my life, because I came to something that I call the quadruped theory. And the way that I put it is there's 4 aspects of life. If you want to live a happy and fulfilled life, you have to be healthy in these 4 aspects. First, you have to be physically fit. Second, you have to be mentally fit. Third, you have to be spiritually fit. And fourth is financially fit. And the way I put it in this order is because physically, if you're not physically fit, if you're morbidly obese, you're on your deathbed, it doesn't matter if you have $10 million. The only thing you care about is being healthy again. Second, mentally fit. If you are depressed, if you're anxious, if you are not surrounded by people that you love, if you're not happy, having more money is just going to make you more miserable. And this is a big misconception out there where I know people in my own personal life, I'm sure you do too, where people are like, if I just make $1 million, I'm going to find the love of my life. I'm going to be liked. People are going to want to talk to me. You start to imagine this world where money is going to solve the mental aspect of your life, but that's not the case. It's its own aspect. So more money will not make you mentally happy. Then there's a spiritual aspect. And this doesn't have to be religious. This is your purpose. For me, it's what is the reason why you're on this earth? What are you waking up for every single day? If you don't have a purpose, you're not going to have a reason to get out of bed no matter how much money you have. After you have the physical fitness, the mental fitness, the spiritual fitness, that's where the financial fitness has the biggest impact and the most power to help you live the most fulfilled life, because now money is just the icing on the cake, man. It allows you to live a more fulfilled and a happy life because now you can do more of the things that make you happy. You can give more. You can buy more food for homeless people. You can do more things that give you happiness. Maybe it is writing books. Maybe it's traveling. Maybe it is giving. Maybe it is starting businesses. Whatever it is for you, you have the resources and the ability to do that. But that requires you to have that financial education and be willing to now go out of the way to talk about money and learn about money and understand that, hey, money is something that I need to understand. Money is something that I need to be willing to talk about. Money is something that I need to be willing to learn about, because most of us are never taught to think about money, myself included.
Yeah. I mean, I love that thesis, and I would agree with you, because I had similar rhetoric in my language growing up. So when we talked about money, it was, we always had just enough. So I grew up when I had 0 in my bank accounts on plenty days. And that was just, we had just enough. Or we often talked about money as if we went to a place where someone had a nice home or someone had a nice car, the conversation would be, oh, well, that person does some sketchy stuff. Or they must have done something that was stabbing someone in the back or causing someone pain to be in that position. And so you start creating this very negative, toxic view towards money. Yeah. And like you said, at the same time, you need access to it. Have you ever figured out what it was for your parents that you think created that disparity in their relationship with money? Have you ever probed that? Have you ever understood that? Well, because it comes from somewhere, right?
Yeah, I think it's a cultural thing. I think across the Indian culture, my parents are from a state in India called Punjab. Yeah. Culturally, money is just one of those things, like even in my culture, my religion, like there's this concept called kirat karo, which means earn an honest living. Now, many people have interpreted that, in many different ways of, oh, don't worry about money, don't talk about money. And in the Sikh religion, there's also this big concept of seva, which means selfless service, giving back. And so there's this kind of like real giving aspect, which is great. And I agree with, but many times we overlook the idea of, how about the earning aspect? How do we earn? How do we take care of ourselves? Because the way I look at it is, if you want to be able to fill somebody else's cup, you want to feed somebody else, you have to be able to feed yourself first. And this is a lesson that my grandfather taught me. My grandparents are immigrants, or they were refugees before they came and lived with me. They were refugees because the state of Punjab used to be much larger. 1947, the state was severed. And if you were a Sikh and you were on the west side of Punjab, you had to migrate east, otherwise you were going to be killed. And it was a very brutal, very rough, very bad time. And my grandparents were on the west side. And so immediately they had to leave their homes, leave their lands, leave family members, leave their friends behind, and migrate and run east. My grandfather, I heard this story a lot, and he actually just moved back to America. But when he started the migration process, the process moving east, all he had was a sword in his hand and the clothes on his back. Nothing else. Left all the money, left all the land, left everything behind, even left his parents behind. and started running. And during that process, he got attacked by a mob and he had to defend himself. And he saw his uncle get killed right in front of him. His uncle got a knife, a sword right to his head, cut his head open in half. And that was the last time he saw him. And now he comes over to the new east side of Punjab, the new India. He lost his shoes along the way, doesn't have a home, doesn't have any family, doesn't have any friends. He's here just trying to figure it out himself, and now has to figure out, how do you make life work? And what he tells me from that time is poorness is the worst disease. And the reason why is because when you're at that level of poverty, that level of poorness, you can't even think about feeding somebody else. You can't think about helping another person, because the only thing on your mind is, how can I feed myself? How can you feed your family? When that's the only thing that you're trying to do, you can't worry about feeding other people. And that's where, for me, it was, I want to become successful so I can give back to my family, to my parents, give back to my community, and be able to do more things. Money at its core is just a tool. It allows you to do more of the things that you want. If you give a good person money, they have a tool to do more good. If you give a bad person more money, they have a tool to do more bad. So money, at the end of the day, it's just like gasoline. It amplifies whoever you are, which is why we need more good people with money. So now going back to your question of why, I really think it's just a lot of insecurity. If we feel like we did everything right, we're working hard, but we don't have what somebody else has, something must be wrong. They must have done something bad. They must have done something that, we didn't see. So we create excuses, we create smoke screens. But the thing that we don't understand is the financial education aspect, because that is the thing that can make or break your finances. It does not matter how much money you make, what degree you have, who your parents are, where you went to school. None of that matters. It's what you do with the money you make. And this is one of those things that it can be very hard for you to understand unless you actually see it. I was actually just reading a study last week. It said that 7 out of 10 Americans across the board are living paycheck to paycheck. And then it said that 50% of Americans, or just about 50% of Americans making 6 figures or more, are also living paycheck to paycheck. The majority of Americans across the board, doesn't matter the income, are broke. They have little to no savings. They have little to no investments, regardless of how much money you're making. And the reason is not just because of what salary or job or what degree you have or who your parents are, but because of what financial education you have. And none of us are taught a thing about money, which is the craziest thing.
Yeah, I